Here is the problem with the build-up to AEW pay-per-view events. As you know, AEW hosts 4 and sometimes 5 pay-per-view events per year in the quarterly seasons. Revolution in the winter, Double or Nothing in the spring, All Out in the summer, and Full Gear in the fall. And sometimes they do more pay-per-views, like in 2019 when Fyter Fest and Fight for the Fallen were pay-per-view events before becoming TV specials on their weekly Dynamite show. And in 2022, AEW introduced a crossover pay-per-view in the summer labeled Forbidden Door, where they worked with wrestlers from New Japan Pro Wrestling. But the problem with AEW's pay-per-view events is not always the execution of the matches or the overcrowded list of matches they have per event, even though they really need to cut down on the amount of matches they do because it can get very tiring. The main problem with AEW's pay-per-view events is the procrastination and timing. Like seriously, they have an average length of 3 months in between pay-per-view events, more than enough time to build up the next big event, and the majority of the time there's little to no matches scheduled for a pay-per-view until there's literally 3 weeks left. And that's at the earliest time too. A lot of the time, AEW focuses on mostly putting story culminations on random episodes of Dynamite, and some of the matches exist on pay-per-view just for the sake of existing. A major example of this is in 2022, when the AEW champion at the time, Hangman Adam Page, was in a massive feud with Bryan Danielson, competing in several matches on Dynamite, where one of them even ended in a 1-hour time limit draw. The storytelling was intense, those matches were amazing, however because AEW overdid it, they left any chance of a worthy pay-per-view main event to be irrelevant. Because by that point, there wouldn't be anything seen in a pay-per-view match that we hadn't already seen in the Dynamite matches. So Adam Page started feuding with Lance Archer, leading many to believe this was the opponent for the Revolution pay-per-view. The actual opponent ended up being Adam Cole, simply because Cole won matches and became number 1 in the rankings. As a result of that, Adam Page had little to no build-up with Adam Cole. The match was made official less than 2 weeks before the show, and made for an awkward main event that had nothing to go for it. Another thing AEW got wrong with their pay-per-view builds is the amount of matches they keep shoving onto the card, which end up delivering poorly. Whether that be in endless tag matches with random teams put together, or Jade Cargill defending the TBS Championship in 5-minute encounters that almost no one remembers due to them using the bathroom when the matches occur. This is the WrestleMania from 2017 to 2019 problem, with WWE put as many matches on the card as possible, and the show ended up being over 5 hours in length, prompting them to split their event into 2 nights in later years. Overall, the problem with AEW's build is poor build-up, procrastination, and cramming as many matches as they can into the card, not realizing that you don't have to shove everything on your card in order to make a good show. Less is more, quality over quantity. Do you agree with this? Does AEW need to actually work on building up their pay-per-views with the long amount of time they have? And do you also believe that AEW has to cut down on the amount of matches they place on their pay-per-view events? Don't forget to subscribe for more content, click the join button to become a channel member, and give me your input on what other types of content you'd like to see.